Well, hi everybody, and good morning again. We did have our Shambhala, opening Shambhala meditation, taking in the new moon, and we're in the expression of the new moon right now. It occurred at 2:41 and 31 seconds GMT, and now we have 5 a.m. GMT. And what we're looking for in this monthly new moon work is to imagine the application of the purpose and plan dimension. And, these are meditation 4 in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2, deals with that pretty much. But we had the opportunity to meditate directing energy toward one or more of the 3 great departments of hierarchy led by the Manu, the Mahachohan, or the Bodhisattva as the supreme leader there. So the Department of Government, of Religion, basically, and the Department of Civilization. There's so much to clean up in those areas, and without the necessary house cleaning, the Christ cannot appear. And these 3 departments, I think, hold the key to sharing, maybe in the department of the Mahachohan, and peace, which involves all the departments, but especially the first and the second. And then, of course, we have to have the basic cleaning of the values in each one of these areas. So we'll try to do that. I think we will do that every new moon. And we will also have our Esoteric United Nations. Michael has put the link in. That is for people who wish to make a commitment to stay with this evocation of the soul of nations until the next new group of World Servers Festival, which occurs, well, in about 6 years, in the year 2026. And always it has, excuse me, it has to do with the festival week from the 21st to the 28th of December. So it's a strongly Capricornian festival. So if you are interested in that and wish to make a pledge or a commitment to stay with the process, then you are most welcome to join our efforts. And that will be at 8 o'clock tonight, GMT. I still have a little bit of this early morning voice here, so please excuse me. Now, we're working with ray triangles at the moment, and we've really been on the same page. We have worked with the first ray triangle, Aries, Leo, and Capricorn. We've worked with the second ray triangle. Interestingly, all of those signs are found upon the mutable cross: Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces. And we're going to find that same kind of similarity when we go to the 6-ray triangle. All of the signs transmitting or conducting the 6-ray are also on the mutable cross: Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And what we have there is really work in the department of religion, particularly, with education and healing going along on the 2nd ray, and a general type of idealism on the 6th. Now, some of you have been to the earlier meeting, but I'd like to welcome you anyway. Again, just say hi. And Anne is there, and she'll be doing translation for the Vietnamese group, and we're very grateful there. You and Daisy, I guess. And Anne Peterson, hi, and Anna, and Annette. And Anne, let's see, what do we have there? Avni, hello. And Brennan. And Catherine, Chris, Chuang, and Frederick in Japan, hi. Helen, good morning, or whatever time it is for you. Probably not morning. Joe and Carrie. And Khan, Leslie, Lynette, Mariut, Martha, and Martine. Miro, Natni, and Nesa, and Rebecca, and Risto and Stephen. Tia, TU, and Vera and Zenaidi. Welcome all of you. And over here on the staff side, Michael is Michael Stacy is keeping us on track. We've got a lot of Michaels running around here that are helping with the communications work. Well, we're into the constellations, which transmit together the 3rd ray. It's a 3rd ray triangle. There are other rays that seem to come through all these signs. For instance, if we have many rays as a human being, and a planet such as our Earth has a number of rays, monad 1, soul 2, and personality 3, we can imagine that a lord of a constellation also has a number of rays. But DK is perhaps talking about the ones that are most focal and important at this time. So we have every one of these constellations has rather a triangular constitution. When you look at the ancient constellation Cancer, which was so prominent in the previous solar system, the triangular formation within it is obvious. It is also with Libra, the former claws of the scorpion, and again, the triangle is clear. And when it comes to Capricorn, it is a great triangle in the sky. So all of them seem to hint at having this 3rd ray. Now they're not alone. Capricorn has rays 1, 3, and 7, and probably every one of these constellational lords has all the rays, necessarily, I would say, but 1, 3, and 7 are given by the Tibetan for Capricorn. Only ray 3 is given in relation to Libra, but it's pretty obvious when you look at the descriptors for Libra that the second ray is emerging and plays a powerful role, even though even though DK does not discuss it very much. You know, it has to do with well, let me take a look here. It's on page 333 of your astrology book, and let's see here. Yeah, divine love and understanding. Now the balance is in relation to the third ray. And well, when you look at divine love and understanding, what else could it be but the second ray? And let's not forget the relationship of Libra to the first ray via law. But we'll get there. Okay. And then Cancer, let's see, I want to get over here, brings in the third ray and the seventh ray. Interestingly, two of the major financial rays. So, yeah, it is associated with the financial department of hierarchy. Now, Cancer is an old sign. Its influence upon our present solar system is substantial. In other words, it underlies much of what is going on in the present solar system. It comes from, or was most powerful, in the previous major solar system, and as the Tibetan tells us, for the first half of that solar system. Later, in the second half of the system, another constellation, which at the time represented a more advanced quality of the third ray, came into focus, and that was Virgo. But now Virgo has changed its emphasis. It doesn't mean that it still doesn't have the third ray and the seventh ray, as we might expect, and as seems to show up. But rays 2 and 6 are prominent with Virgo at this time. So Cancer is related to the dark light. And light is water. Light is matter. The whole universe is, shall we say, condensed light of various kinds. Now, if we turn in the astrology book to page 329, roughly, we see that the light of Cancer is the light within the form. This is a diffused light, the diffused light of substance itself, the dark light of matter. And, you know, we've been doing a lot of thought lately in scientific circles concerning the dark light, you might say, the hidden light. Of course, I think that has to do with the etheric levels, which are, again, just being suspected, other levels of the universe. And it's referred to in the secret doctrine as the dark light of matter. It is a material sign, especially when we consider it in its earlier aspects as ruled by the moon. It is the light awaiting the stimulation coming from the soul light. Now, What sign is it that rules the light of the soul? Well, it's going to be Leo. And so Cancer is matter and the mass. And from this generalized condition in which materialism often takes over, some kind of individuality under the light of the soul and Leo must emerge. So Cancer is foundational, and it brings in the third ray in relation to the instinctual nature and to some extent the lower mental nature. But we have to wait until Leo is prominent before we really get that full emphasis upon the intellect. Now, basically, the moon, when it was really alive, was the third chain. It's always associated with the number 3, and even now, I'm so sorry, I'm a little threadbare in my voice right now, talking a bit too much, I think. Even now, when you look at the non-sacred planets, the sun represents the personality, Pluto represents the mental body, Mars represents the astral body, and the moon, Earth, represents the etheric body, and the moon, the dense physical body. So people who are caught in the mass consciousness are living a semi-instinctual and emotional life. And maybe a little water will help. This is the problem right now for humanity. The mass consciousness is at war with the more advanced intellectual, individual consciousness that characterizes the advanced man. So, Cancer is ruling the lower part of the third ray. It is glamoured, it is active, it is material, and when it is ruled by Neptune, it has more to do with the astral plane, but still with the world of glamour. Now, eventually, and it's not the way it's being used now, it will connect with the Buddhic plane. Think of it now. Here is the Buddhic plane on which the sixth principle appears. This is the plane of love wisdom. Neptune is a great second ray monad, and the love wisdom of the Buddhic plane is meant to come into the astral body. Now, it just so happens that Cancer is the fourth sign. So by numerical resonance, it will be connected with the fourth plane. And one day, the intuitive Buddhic apprehension will characterize the Cancer individual. And the wholeness, the whole of things, will be seen as one thing. The whole is seen as one. That's a very powerful mantra for the more advanced level. But the way Cancer is now being applied is to people who still have a materialistic bias. What does it say? I'm going to try to find that. Yeah, I'll do that this way. And we'll go to Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, and it will say the following. Rush not from point to point. Okay. This is how the mass consciousness usually works. Well, I'll just read this whole thing. Pulling the threads of life, I stand enmeshed within my self-created glamour. Surrounded am I by the fabric I have woven. I see naught else. And then the corrective is given. The love of truth must dominate. Well, you know, we see a lot of third-rate people making it up as they go along. And we see examples of this kind of manipulation going on in the United States right now. The love of truth, not lie, must dominate. Not love of my own thoughts or love of my ideas or forms. Love of the ordered process must control. Not love of my own wild activity. This is the busyness ray, okay? And here's the word that goes forth. The word goes forth from soul to form. Be still. Learn to stand quiet, silent, quiet, and unafraid. You know, the financial fear is driving so many people, and they become immersed in a maelstrom of busyness to try to offset it. Learn to stand silent, quiet, and unafraid. I at the center am. Look up along the line, that's the Antakarana, okay? And not the many lines from which in the space of eons you have woven. These hold thee prisoner. Be still. So you can see how different this is from the mass consciousness. And here's the point. Rush not from point to point, nor be deluded by the outer forms and that which disappears. Do not be deluded by the outer forms. That would be materialism and the mass consciousness along the third ray line. Don't be taken in by that. Because those things are not real and they disappear, and the third ray types in the mass consciousness don't know it. They think somehow you can, take it with you. You can't take it with you, it's been said, but, what's the story? My son was just telling me that life is like a game, and he who has the most toys at the end of it wins. It's a joke, but unfortunately people behave that way. Behind the forms, the weaver stands. That's a higher form of third ray, and silently he weaves. So, what we have with Cancer in this third ray triangle is particularly application to the mass consciousness. And we have to overcome the unintelligent part of our nature, which is the glamour-producing, chaos-producing effects of the third ray, running around, getting very little accomplished, not well directed at all, and we have to lift it one day into the Buddhic plane. Okay. So when we look at the election that's going on here in the United States, and well, most acutely and dangerously there, but elsewhere too in the world, because like it or not, for the time being, the United States sets an example, or should be. We have chaos, glamour, manipulation, materialism, lack of humanitarianism. We have the exaltation of material values above human values that are coming in on the second ray. So we have to defeat this mess, what DK calls this unthinking, emotional mess. He names Maya to be that. It's so striking, you know, when you hear such a statement about Maya and about it has to do with the first veil on the etheric plane. It's called the veil of impulsion, meaning you're prompted to act, but you hardly even know why. It's always coming out of your habit nature. So we have to overcome the old, and this has to give way to Leo, which is the individual and the intellect and the light and the right kind of rulership over oneself instead of these automatic promptings. And eventually Cancer will be Buddhic in nature under Neptune, the hierarchical ruler. Now, when it comes to Libra, DK only gives the third ray, but it is the ruler of law, sex, and money. Law on the first ray, and maybe we will find with Libra, because it's the home of so much Saturn. Saturn as the exalted planet, Saturn as the hierarchical ruler, Saturn having much ray 1 and ray 3, Saturn having all of that. Libra probably does too. But the main thing is to bring financial balance and fairness into the situation. And creative sharing. We're told that Christ cannot come unless sharing to some extent is controlling the international relationships. And I suppose community relationships. Right now, things are terribly out of balance, and we do not have the creativity applied to the financial situation in a way that promotes the plan. We have plenty of manipulation. We have cornering the market, as it were. We have intelligence used to create imbalance. But we don't have fairness. And the third ray, creativity, can be put to the task of creating a fair and equitable, Libran word, distribution of resources without killing individuality. Libra, we have to remember, rules the plane of spiritual will. Can I get to that? Maybe. I'll try. Here we are. Notice in this table of creative hierarchies how Libra is connected with the planet Saturn and the color green. Of course, money is all different kinds of colors depending on the country. But basically, it rules the spiritual triad. And it rules particularly, interestingly, the plane of spiritual will, which must be expressed with love and fairness and justice. So what we really need is creativity in the cause of fairness and justice. What does DK call it? He says, the name that I prefer for the third ray, he says, is the ray of creative intelligence. Now think about that for a second. Not just the intelligence which can smoothly, selfishly bring all the pleasant things to yourself and take them away from others without anybody even noticing. Not that kind of creativity. The ray of creative intelligence in line with the plan. Libra can be so adept at that and is needed to work out the many problems around the law and the whole sexual relation, which is so out of balance and out of normality that DK says the masters don't even know where it will end. They just don't know. That's how, see, Libra has a lot to do with the sacral center and with the decisions made up here at the brow center. And if you think of it, because the third ray is connected with the throat, as is the seventh ray, we have here a third ray sign, and it is the seventh sign or constellation. You know, a sign is simply a concentrated influence of the much more superior energy of the constellation. So Libra is ruling supermind eventually, not just ordinary higher mind and lower mind, but supermind, which is found in the spiritual triad. And that's why its force is called Jnana Shakti. This is the yoga of knowledge. When I was friends with the last living disciple in the Tibetan group, she said that his ashram had a lot to do with the Libran energy. Now, at first I said, what? Wait. I would always suspect Gemini. Yes, I do. And I suspect Taurus. But his ashram, and he has a lot of third ray, is connected with the quality of right human relations. 5 ashrams there are that kind of get the externalization process going, and the Tibetans is one of those ashrams, and its theme, right human relations. Well, what could be stronger indicator than Libra of right human relations? And of course, there's some other things there about the Prince of Peace under Libra, and how in one of the earlier incarnations of the Tibetan, he was Arya Sangha, a great scholar, Buddhist scholar in the early centuries of our period, AD, and he had the ability somehow to contact Lord Maitreya in the what's called the Tushita heavens. So, you know, DK seems to be so related to so many if you really look at the charts, including the Christ through the sign Libra, and he has a lot of that willpower as well. But let's just say that his creative intelligence is extreme and gives us the idea of how we can use creative intelligence to bring down the essential fairness and justice, Libran qualities, of the divine plan. So whenever you have prominent Libra in your chart, it's going to be a question of finding a way to produce right relations in some field. Now, let's move on a bit. I'm not going to make this a real long session. Tuya and I still have the Esoteric United Nations to do today, later in the day, and I'm hoping I'll even be able to talk. We'll see. Now comes Capricorn. Now, if you've ever seen the constellation Capricorn, it is an immense constellation, and it's a very, very big triangle. Libra is in triangular formation also, and the scales and the two pans of the scales are triangular. But Capricorn is a powerful, immense constellation, unmistakably in the form of a triangle. Now, what's important here to note, yes, the seventh ray comes majorly through Capricorn, and the first ray, the law, and the conquering of death comes under the first ray of Capricorn, but the third ray is how disciples like ourselves access, well, Capricorn is the third sign, is the sign by which disciples access the third ray, particularly. Now, I could say that there are very many very materialistic Capricorn people. Somehow they have a sense of the concretion of things, and their symbol is the diamond in a way. The diamond signifies the lower triangle and the higher triangle before they kind of form the seal of Solomon. So, yes, there is materialism and competition and ambition and trying to climb higher and faster than your fellow competitors. There's always this desire to rise when it comes to Capricorn. But what kind of rising is it? Is it ambitious rising, or is it an extrication from materialism? Sometimes, if with Cancer, the claws of the crab grab on so tightly, you just can't escape, unless maybe using Neptune, you kind of slip out of that situation at a higher level of evolutionary use of that sign. But Capricorn is the upper point of the diamond also. And it is a sign of extraction, of pratyahara, of abstraction as well as extraction. And it rules esoterically the fifth law of the soul, which is called the law of elevation, the law of group progress. You would think it would be Aquarius, and of course Aquarius is involved with group development, but it is that rising out of matter through Capricorn, through the power of reasoning, through the power of the abstract mind, that has to be emphasized with the third ray, rulership. So, whereas the average person, the victim of mass consciousness, is receiving the instinctual, glamorous third ray from Cancer, the probationer, the disciple, the initiate especially, is receiving the note of creative intelligence ruled by Saturn in the throat center from Capricorn. And Capricorn will not let the individual rest until initiation is taken, and on and on. 5 initiations are at least loosely ruled by Capricorn, with the third initiation of glorification being the most prominently associated. Now, since it's the third initiation, it's not only the fifth ray that rules that initiation, but the third ray as well. The numerical and resonance has to be kept in mind. So, you have to look at your charts. Sometimes you may have all 3 of these. In my own case, I have a lot of third ray. I only have 2. I have Cancer and Libra. One is the rising sign, and the other holds the esoteric ruler of the rising sign, Neptune. And Capricorn is missing. So I have to find a way to access that energy. And you may find that case where 2 out of 3 of a triangle are in prominent positions in your chart, but you have to access the third one. Maybe you'll even have to go to the inner charts. I found that I had to. There's a conception chart and there's a heartbeat animation chart, and there the Capricorn is found. I have access in that way. And maybe, if you get some kind of specialist, like Nicholas Nilen. He's very good at this. He can help cast your inner charts, the ABC charts. Animation A, B, birth, C, conception. They're not in order, but conception comes first, then animation, and then birth chart. Astrology has much more triangularization and much more complexity than we might like to see. So there's a lot to learn. Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Now, Cancer, you see, basically, we have to look at the Capricorn meaning in our series of initiations when we are striving to be liberated through initiation. That's how we look at the third ray and all of the intelligence that goes into that liberation. When it comes to Cancer, people like ourselves, we want to serve, and we will find that we have to look backwards, and we'll be using our creative intelligence to serve those who are still caught in the mass consciousness. And we will bring harmony through creative intelligence into our lives through Libra. All of them have kind of a different meaning at different stages of evolution, and all of them can be applied at any stage. Even Libra, it rules the sacral instinctual center. And so an early type of application is found, as well as divine law leading to peace. I mean, there's a range of third ray possibilities here, just the way any ray can be used at any different period of development. So Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, a triangle very much in a way associated with the previous major solar system, where the third ray was dominant and bringing over to a certain extent into our solar system that third ray as the foundational primordial ray, which is good, but must be overcome by the blue. The blue must overcome the green. That is what we have to achieve. Now we're told that Saturn gets a bad rap, but really it's the great planet of opportunity, and basically it's ruling Libra more than any other planet, and Saturn, in a great act of sacrifice and service, provided a bridge from the previous solar system to the present solar system. Now, I think we can see how bridge building is so connected with Libra. So it was kind of a Libra Saturn method of continuing evolution after certain disasters and rebellions occurred in the previous solar system. So you can interpret these things on a high level, on a medium level, on a low level, but I would suggest that for ourselves, the right approach is higher medium through the esoteric ruler. Let's get that sense of wholeness through Cancer. Let's get the sense of peace, divine understanding, and love, and right human relationships between Libra, the sign of right human relationships, the Tibetan, his ashram, right human relations. And let's get sort of the higher middle of Capricorn and advance methodically, step by step, from aspiration to probation to discipleship to accepted discipleship to real initiation at the third degree. As you can see, there's a lot to learn about the connections that these triangles have. And finally, in Capricorn is that glorious planet Venus that in so many ways is the archetype toward which we on Earth are striving, even as the individual seeking elevation strives to be like his angel of the presence or his solar angel, and one day will be so. As a matter of fact, I think I can see how on the path to Sirius, which maybe 85% of humanity takes, that somehow Venus and Capricorn are very important. There are some training planets before we get liberated from our solar system altogether and start to work on the cosmic astral plane. There are some planets that help reschool us before we take the path to other constellations and other centers of force on the cosmic astral and cosmic mental plane. And you may be interested to know that the path of magnetic work, which is often a fifth ray monad path, is connected with Libra and with Gemini too. And that green dragon that is involved with the path of Earth service, just look up those symbols for the ways of higher evolution, is definitely connected with Libra and the color green and the third ray and the redemption of the remnants of the previous solar system. So basically what you do, you take a triangle, you look at it, you decide what is the most important part of it right now. Before long, that part will be, it won't be Cancer. It will be improvement of cooperative relations in Libra, leading to Capricorn initiation of a large portion of humanity. The first initiation, when the Prince of Peace reappears, the Christ, it will indicate that the first initiation has been taken by humanity. Well, you could write books on these things, but I think the key is to understand the fundamentals and how the third ray is working for you. Sometimes it's in your ray chart. Sometimes it's in an important aspect of your horoscope. Sometimes it's simply an indirect influence coming in through rulers. We all have it. And how are we using it? That's the thing to decide when you look at these triangles and their rulers. Now I'm going to let that go. You know, we're only going one line at a time, and that, because of the nature of our subject, that's kind of how we have to do it. So this is the end of number 76. We're still on that page, of course. And today is the 19th, the new moon day. And our next occasion will be 77. And it'll be on the 26th of August. And it will be a evening meeting. And it will be 5 p.m. instead of a.m. GMT. Okay, well, now it's your turn to ask questions, to make statements, perhaps on this subject, if you've been able to dig into it on the basis of your own study or on the basis of what I've said, or anything else in the field of occultism. I'm happy at least to attempt to field questions and respond to statements, even if I give it my best shot. When you really think about what the Tibetan knows, this kind of omniscience, this all-knowledge kind of thing that he has in relation to the atmic plane, being the most learned of all the masters, especially in the matter of rheology, astrology, and creative hierarchies, you just say, well, there's a long way to go. But wherever we may be our destination, we can get there. And then the great surprise comes when you think that, in fact, somehow we're already there. And that's not just a sophism. You know, I say it as what I consider to be a philosophical accuracy, but the ability to bring it down into this condensation we call the human brain, that has to be cultivated. Okay, so Michael, if you would kindly help me here for people's possible questions. And I hope that I see.
I am looking for raised hands or any comments or questions in the chat box. There was a break in sound momentarily around minute 26, but it came back very quickly.
Oh my goodness, it was moment 26, was it? Oh. Yeah, sometimes something happens here, and I regret my voice this morning and also any break in sound. My apologies.
And Bishtar's hand is raised.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Hi. You can go ahead. Either written
Hi.
or spoken.
There you go.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you. It's always great to hear such broad knowledge from you, Michael. Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, when you were speaking about the path one with the green dragon,
Yeah.
Does the green dragon represent Saturn, or why is it a green dragon?
Well, I think it has a lot to look, these are things the masters themselves are trying to work out, but it has to do with the transmutation of the green third ray personality of the earth through service, through earth service, into something that is really responsive to the soul. Somewhere he says that a lord of karma, if I'm getting this right, is a blue serpent with a red eye. You know, you could just see how he's using symbolism here. So this particular dragon is needing to be, in a way, changed into a blue-green dragon or into a blue dragon once it is redeemed. The personality has to be lifted into the second ray color. And, you know, there is, you know, if I can, you know, can I find these things? That's always the question. Excuse me, just take a second, and let's just see if I use this word. There's one. Okay, why attributes? Now, every planetary logos is called a dragon of wisdom. That's number one. And the solar logos is called the lion of cosmic will. So here we have this dragon of wisdom, and a lesser dragon of wisdom is a master. So these masters who are lesser dragons of wisdom, and they're very sacrificial, and Sanat Kumara sort of taps you and says, I need you here. They are the ones who tread the path of Earth's service. And notice the constellation of the dragon, Draco, that it kind of winds its way between the little bear and the big bear.
Right.
Draco has this cosmic kundalini coming from it, but also it has a very strong concentration of the second ray, compassion. And and that, you know, that's kind of interesting because you sometimes see in the mythology that dragons have a lot of wisdom, especially the positive kind. So there are many positive dragons, the planetary logoi, the masters themselves, and the great constellation, Draco, which gives us, I think it's page 1162, and maybe I can quickly find that. Remind me of that. I'm going to go there in just a second. The method is 12 cosmic identifications. Whoa. And the hierarchy is the 6th, but it is apparently the 6th coming from the astral plane, cosmic astral and down. And here's the symbol, a green dragon issuing from the center of a blazing sun. Behind the sun and overtopping it can be seen 2 pillars on either side of a closed door, ergo Gemini, and the path of wisdom. And the quality to be gained, luminosity, which is the great goal of our planetary logos, to become a great station of light. So, you know, if you are interested in these things, I think there's some magnificent stuff he's given us. And I have recordings on these different paths where I've expanded upon them the best I could, and they're on Makara. Now, here's a treatise on cosmic fire, and I'm going to go to page, I'm not sure I'm going to find what I want, but let's just see. The energy of the solar logos, the energy centers of the solar logos, are themselves in the form of vast lotuses, that is every planet, right? Or wheels, at the center of which lies hidden that central cosmic life, note cosmic, we call a planetary logos. He is the meeting place for 2 types of force, spiritual or logoic, which reaches him via the logoic lotus on cosmic mental planes, that is, the causal body of the solar logos, from the 7 rishis of the Great Bear on their own plane, which I say is cosmic atmic and not drawn as such. I think it's the cosmic astral plane from the 7 rishis of the Great Bear on their own plane, and secondly, and this is the point, of Buddhic force, which is transmitted via the 7 sisters or the Pleiades from a constellation called the Dragon in some books, and from which comes the appellation, the Dragon of Wisdom. So that's a fantastic little paragraph telling us that from the Pleiades comes love, wisdom, as well as intelligence, and from the dragon comes not only cosmic kundalini, but a great stream of love, wisdom going through the Pleiades. Every once in a while, DK gets quite cosmic on us, if you know what I mean. And this is one of those places that gives us our local cosmology and the psychology of these great beings as they interplay with each other. So we little people, we can turn into dragons of wisdom, and we can exercise wise compassion, and we can hold ourselves back. We register where we would like to go as monads on the way of higher evolution. We register those things and then serve for a term here on Earth instead of moving forward. And lately, we've been told that Sanat Kumara is in such a challenging situation that he has asked all initiates of the 6th degree, Chohans, to register their intended destination by free choice and then to stay with him and work on the planet. So there's a lot going on behind the idea of the dragon. Many beautiful things are going on, and not just, sometimes in the movies you see fire-breathing destructive dragons and all the rest, but it's kind of an honorary position to be a dragon. And we have, I was just thinking of that, what was that movie by James Cameron? Was it called Avatar? What was it called? Anyway, the people were blue and very big, and there was this very great dragon which the hero had tamed. There was also a more negative type of dragon in The Lord of the Rings and so forth. So it can go either way, but if you ask the Chinese, the dragon is good and a big features prominently in their mythology. And I would suggest that all of us think about what it would take for us to become real dragons of wisdom. Lesser, of course, but essentially a dragon of wise compassion. Okay, interesting, Ishtar. Thank you.
Yes, Ishtar was wondering under what subject is it on the Makara site? And you've got so much on the Makara site that it's like pick and choose.
Yeah, I would say the 7 cosmic paths on the way of higher evolution. It's been a while since I've been there, so I don't know how BL has put it there. But basically, if you see anything about the cosmic paths on the way of higher evolution, that's where you'll find that information. Or at least you will find DK's information and my feeble interpretations of the same. At least what I'm trying to do is give little tendrils that reach out from subject to subject so that light can flash across the connection. It's almost like a filament in a light bulb. Without that, you wouldn't get the illumination. And that's what I'm trying to as much as I can to provide. So look for the way of higher evolution and the 7 paths, and now there are 9 paths. Page 412, I believe, of the rays and the initiations. 2 more paths have been added. Of course, 9 is the number of the Pleiades and the 3rd ray. And he's not telling us anything about those paths except that a human being, as a monad, can choose that as the final destination. Much will depend on the monadic ray. I mean, I don't want to limit the subject, but a lot of 5th ray monads, that is, people whose monadic ray is the 5th, as he says, choose the path of magnetic work, the 2nd path, linking those 2 rays again, just as they are in the case of the solar angel, ray 2 and ray 5. So there's a lot of lore connected with all this. And as we go further, we will see the connections. He says you're not really limited on the way of higher evolution by your soul ray or monadic ray, and yet there are tendencies for certain types to tread certain paths. And yet it is a free choice. So, we'll get there. I don't know how many thousands of years it'll be, but let's work with those objectives in mind. Okay. What else? Anything?
I'm looking for any other comments, questions, and raised hands, and not seeing any at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it's my hope that this material is not too difficult for us. In a way, Cosmic Fire is said to be a book for initiates, and when he says initiates, he means of the 3rd degree and beyond. But then again, when you read the 14 rules, it all begins at the 3rd degree for the group and beyond. So, admittedly, it's a stretch into the future. But how else will we expand our triadal mind, our triadal love, our triadal spiritual will? We have to stretch ourselves. And if we feel daunted, oh, can I handle this? Well, we can't really handle it, but we can make some attempts to understand. And as he said, look, I'm not, 70 something years ago when he was writing this, he said, I'm not writing for you right now, he told his groups, but there will be those coming at the end of the century and in the beginning of the next century for whom what I am writing will be more meaningful. So don't be afraid to wade in. I just figured for myself, I'm ignorant on so many different things, but I will dare to propose my ignorant proposals, and I will be corrected externally or internally as I go along. And same for you. So it's all a question of daring to make your speculations and ask your questions. Keep that in mind. Okay, if there is nothing else right now, just remember to look for the ray potentials in your astrological chart. Your astrological chart is not your ray chart. However, from the astrological chart and its signs and planets, certain rays do come forth and are transmitted, received, and utilized. And just be aware of what those rays may be coming through either signs or planets. And it adds a whole new depth to your interpretation of your astrological chart. But at first, try to be aware of the major ray triangle that exists in your life. And maybe for most of us, it's like this: soul, personality, mind. But eventually, it will be monad, soul, and personality. And if we can be really solid on what our rays are in the ray chart, we can trace those rays in the astrological chart and look for indirect influences. Maybe I can give you an example. Okay, here's the triangle, an important triangle. It's in my chart. The moon is in Aquarius, sun is in Aries, Cancer, rising. So from that moon in Aquarius, I'm going to be looking for a fifth ray, a kind of influence from the past, which I think, is there. I'm also going to be looking for what ray or what planet is veiled by the moon. Now, generally, DK says it's going to be Vulcan, Neptune, or Uranus. I think in my own case, it is Uranus. So then what are the rays of Uranus coming in indirectly? At least the seventh ray, kind of fifth ray, third ray combination. If I go to the Aries sun, what are the rays coming through that? Well, first and seventh ray. And more of the first ray than from any other sign. But there's ray 7 again, which is not in the ray chart, but coming in via an indirect influence. And then I go to the rising sign, Cancer, what's coming through? Third ray, the mass, and seventh ray, the manifestation in exact form as possible. So every one of those has the seventh ray indirectly, but not as part of the ray chart per se. And then I'd look at how what is the progress from early in life, from the moon to the sun to the rising sign. That's what I look for. And there are other triangles there too. So I've got to know, if I'm going to do that, I have to know what rays the constellation or sign is transmitting. I've got to know the rulership of those signs and which particular ruler I may be using. And I've got to know the rays coming through the ruler. Now, DK usually just gives us one ray coming through a planet. But if you study hard, you'll see, like for planet Neptune, it's not only the sixth ray, it's the second ray as well, the monadic ray. So I have to look at the relative proportion of the indirect rays. So as you can see, It's a little bit complicated, but it all starts with knowing these ray triangles. What rays are coming through the various signs when they are grouped together in triangular form, and what rays are coming through their rulers. And hopefully, for people like ourselves, at least the esoteric ruler is operative or becoming operative. And then you have to trace it in your life. It's one thing to talk about it abstractly, excuse me, and another thing to say, aha, I notice that stream in my life. I am behaving, thinking, feeling according to that energy at such and such a time under such and such circumstances. So look at your behaviors. Look at your feelings, your emotions. Look at your thoughts and trace the energy component of those different types of behaviors, feelings, and thoughts. This action is attributable to this ray or this sign, whatever, and try to be definite about it as you undergo self-examination and the examination of others. It takes a lot of self-observation to come up with some productive vision of how you use the energies with which you are endowed, for better or for worse. They may use you, and then things will be out of control. But Saturn will help regulate that.
Michael,
Michael.
there is a comment and then a question. Chris writes, listening to your webinars has been a great help as an addition to all I've been reading. And in all caps, please keep up your programs. Thank you so much for your service.
All I have to do is thank you, and thank you very much. Why do I do this? Well, the new teaching is coming. And I look at the volume and depth of the Alice Bailey teaching, number 2, and I look back at the Secret Doctrine, number 1, and I say, wait, we have not assimilated, or I'll speak for myself, I have not assimilated. We have not assimilated what we could, and we are not as prepared for the new teaching as we would be if we really assimilated more in these next 5 years. So it's like a big theme for me. We've been given the gift, at least open it, use it somehow, assimilate this knowledge to whatever degree may be possible, and then we'll really be capable of carrying our response to this series of bridging treatises leading to the true knowledge of the New Age. We'll be able to carry it further, more effectively, use it in service to a better end. So, something in me just has to try that, to read carefully, paragraph by paragraph, line by line, word by word, to see what it is the Tibetan is really conveying, even though he gets so frustrated by the limitations of words. He is still somehow a master of words, and especially with such an intelligent person as Alice Bailey, who knew the English language so well. So let's use our time to prepare for the even greater gift that is coming, in which I believe wholeheartedly. I mean, he said he would do it, and he's good to his word. And whether it's in this life or the next, we can be associated with the continuation of that great teaching. And all we have to do is try. Just keep trying. And it's our motive that counts. It's not whether we are somehow becoming experts in these matters. One day we will be. Right now we don't have to be. We have to be familiar enough to see what spiritual esotericism can do for humanity, and we have to help spiritual esotericism do those things. So onward, and we keep trying to understand better and better.
And the question from Ishtar: how do we do the PIP3 test when we use a Mac computer? Is there a manual sheet to fill out?
Boy, you're asking the wrong fifth grade type. But if you write to Walter Pullen, who has arranged the latest version of the PIP, he might be able to tell you about some programs that are useful in converting the normal PC orientation into Mac. And I think one of those is called Parallels or something like that. There are other programs. This is not an excessively complicated issue. Somehow you can make your Mac computer act as if it can process the normal PC work. Now, I can't tell you what to look for, which programs to do it, or how to do it. Walters will know. And maybe Stephen Renneberg will know. He might be here with us. I don't know. If you are Stephen, you can raise your hand and give an indication. But those types who have the pretty strong technical orientation, they could make it possible for you to take the test. And my daughter should know too, but that's more for astrology, and I don't think she gets into the PIP so much. So someone knows, and especially maybe Michael Crow knows also. People on the communications team. So those are the three that I would recommend talking to, unless Michael, Stacy, you're one of those people who know how to do that. But
well, Frederick has written a couple of things into the chat box, which I am going to pass along.
Yeah, Frederick has the tech knowledge as well.
Yeah. He says it is possible to run Windows programs inside the Mac computer. Parallels Desktop 16 for Mac and www.parallels.com. So I'll put that.
Maybe Frederick, if you're willing to advise people a little bit, they could, if they run into a snag, they could converse with you a little bit about that. Maybe it'll be a really simple thing, but maybe you could just, point them in the right direction as you're already doing, if they had your email address. So thank you for offering that. Yeah, you're another one of those experts. I just give it to someone else because I cannot I cannot manage. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts?
I'm working on getting Frederick's comments out to everyone.
Okay.
And Stephen has also written, the last I knew, and I haven't looked at it in a while, is that it is Windows only. Running it on a Mac normally means simulating the Windows environment on the Mac, which is possible, but that is quite resource heavy. The best approach is simply to get access to a PC for it. It only takes a few hours.
Okay. I'm going to bow out of this, but I am glad to know that we have a few people who know what they're talking about in this matter. So maybe if we can coordinate, was it Ishtar that asked that question? And anybody else that has the Mac and wants to take the PIP, Walter, Stephen, and Frederick, and Michael Crow, maybe these people can be of use. Okay. Anything else? Because if not,
Yeah, I'm still working on getting this put out for everyone.
okay. Let me see. Maybe I can see if there's anything else myself. Of course, now I've just managed to lose my way. Okay.
I've got Frederick's information put out for everyone.
Okay, good. Let's see if there's anything else here. Otherwise, we'll just have our great invocation and we'll go on. Tomorrow morning, identify as being. This evening at 8 o'clock, the Esoteric United Nations, for the people who would like to make their commitment to that process. And at night tomorrow, we'll have the reappearance of the Christ meditation. And then the usual Ask programs will go forward.
Do you have time for one simple question from Stephen?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're talking left field questions, I was wondering in comprehension of four sounds, what are your thoughts as to what the four sounds are?
You know, I've always been kind of stumped by that. However, it does occur on the Buddhic plane, which is the fourth plane. And I wonder if these are not keys somehow to the cosmic ethers, of which again there are four. There is Shambhala, and it seems to extend throughout the cosmic ethers, even if the highest portion of it is found on the logoic plane. So I just start looking for where the number 4 does occur, and the fact that it's the very first city, is it, on the fourth plane as we're moving upwards, makes me think particularly it has something to do with unlocking the access to the Buddhic levels. More than that, I cannot say. There are 4 ethers within that Buddhic plane, which is part of the cosmic ether. And I just keep on thinking of the sounds as keys, maybe keys, even musical keys, to unlock different portions of the four subplanes, either the four subplanes on the Buddhic plane, or maybe some kind of key to the four cosmic subplanes, although I think it can only reach so high. Now, also, we have to realize when looking at the personality that we have ways of counting four. You know, we can look at the etheric, astral, lower mental, and higher mental planes with the dense physical considered to be an automatic plane where you get aggregates. I forget what word he uses. Densifications, collections. It's none of those words, but it's close. Matter aggregates around the stronger forces, of which there are four other than matter. So there might be something there about what controls the higher mental plane, lower mental plane, astral plane, and etheric plane. And I wish I could think of the word condensations or densifications or congestions. Congestions on the lowest of all planes, which is dense water and gas. And he calls those congestions. And they have no principle in terms of the second solar system here. So the four might be connected with those principled areas. We have, let's just say there are different ways of counting the principles. Go to page 259 or 260, and for another 10 or 12 pages, he gives us various principle assignments. But, you know, he kind of says higher mind, Karana Sarira, lower mind, Manas, the astral, unified astral plane, Kama, and then when it comes to the etheric plane, mostly prana, I would say. So maybe there are ways to deal with those particular divisions within the personality. Just look for some good fours to apply the sound to. And I can't tell you which. So, you know, there are a number of groupings of fours. That's as far as I've gotten on it so far. Okay, a left field question. It's a tough one for me anyway.
And there are no hands raised or other questions, comments in the chat box.
Okay. All right, friends. So let's close our work right now. And gotta find this. You recognize that mantra, don't you? So we'll meet again next week on this. We try to keep these things going, except when it's not possible. And hopefully our knowledge will deepen and our ability to apply what we run into and begin to learn will also become more effective. Gradually, we change from words to an actual experience of the energy which the words represent. And that's really what we're looking for. And meanwhile, just try to think of some triangles that are important in your life. And you can go to your race chart or your astrological chart and maybe locate some of those triangles and what they may be bringing to you. Okay, so the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll get this file converted as soon as we can, get it up on Makara, and more on YouTube. These commentaries and programs are appearing so that those who use that particular platform maybe can share in our work, basically to be exposed to the fundamentals of the ageless wisdom, the real fundamentals, to absorb them and to apply them in service. So tonight, remember, 8 o'clock, Tuya and I will be offering the Esoteric United Nations as we do every month. And then we have, sort of short 5-minute meditations during the week, focusing on the higher qualities of the various nations of the world. And maybe by that time, my voice will come back. All right. Lots of love, many blessings from all of us on the communications team. We'll be talking to you. Okay. Bye bye.